Welcome. My name's Emer Stassin, rhymes with Beamer. I am here in Falkirk, in the middle, usually middle child in the middle of Scotland. It's all about being in the middle and in balance, which is what we're exploring today. And here are our objectives, which is hopefully some version of these enticed you along to the session tonight. So we will begin with an exploration, any exploration around well-being, around self-care. It's very much about becoming present in the moment, in where we are right now. So we will do a short exercise around that, and then moving on to holding space for yourself and for another person. So this is mostly often our starting point for these sessions. And it's like entering into the training room. Then once we become grounded and present, then we can be open to our best selves to learn in the best way that we can. So we'll be focusing on ways of communication. I'll be sharing with you a communication model from NLP, from Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and linking that in with our topic tonight of well-being and self-care. So we'll weave the threads together with that shortly. And we'll also look at well-being in relation to you, because it's all about you tonight, your personal and your professional identities. So the personas, or who you choose to be in any moment. Who are you on the personal side, and who are you on the professional side, and where is there any overlap, if there is any? And we look at why self-care is the essential care of the now, why that's so important, especially in the times that we're in with all that's going on. And then we move on to a bit of creativity, a bit more creativity around your story and the story that you choose to live by. And what if from today, from this moment, you decided that you had the power to rewrite your story, with you being the main character of your story? So just planting the seeds for that, and hopefully some or all of what you explore today will resonate for those of you that have experienced myself and Pauline on other modules. This webinar is building on what you will have done before. If you haven't been on other modules, then it's new and it's perfect. It will be your foundations. So you will all receive a copy of the slides after today, so feel free to take photos or notes, but if you just want to be and relax and absorb, then you can do that too. And we'll also send out follow-up notes as well, just if you like to read and reflect on anything that we've explored. It will give you more backup information as well. And of course, any questions, just unmute, raise your hand, or pop it in the chat. But just before we dive in, it would be really nice if you could share just one word. So we've got 31 people here. So sharing just one word or short sentence on what brings you here today, tonight, this evening. So what has enticed you along? And just pop it in the chat, just our way of getting to know each other a little bit. Because I'm curious, and I'm sure other people are as well. What brings you here tonight to explore this topic of well-being? Wonderful. We've got some responses coming in. Alison, some space to reflect. Absolutely. Vicky, new mum. Oh yes, and all that brings. Tony, curiosity, yes.
How to deal with the anxiety and the panic that certain aspects of new technology and new ways of working.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And the expectations that come with that as well. Getting a better understanding of well-being, beautiful. Irene reminding myself of why I am important, yes. And know that you are, from this moment on, the central character in the story of your life. Karen making time for myself Pauline, exhausted and need self-care to keep going. Absolutely. Even more so. Stephanie, balance, yes. Carly, current circumstances. Liam, a chance to select and get some ideas of self-care in these crazy times. Totally. Catherine, needing to reboot, yes. Work-life balance, tips to help with well-being. Interesting for CPD. It will be. I hope you'll find it interesting anyway. Working from home, yeah. Work-life balance, dealing with stress, yes, yes, yes. Ways to look after my well-being in these difficult times and others. Learn ways to articulate well-being, yes, to the pupils, so all that you learn today you can bring and weave into your day job and the people that you support. Time for self-care, sharing well-being tips with colleagues, supporting myself, family, colleagues, raising awareness. Yes. Engaging with staff during these remote and weird times. Yes. I think weird sums it up, doesn't it? Wonderful. That's so lovely. Thank you for sharing that and yeah, all that you are looking for today. And what I would say in this moment is that tonight can be for you, and then allowing this space to explore things for yourself, and then how you weave this into your work, into your day job will come at a later time. So it's just your invitation to sink into the learning for tonight. Looking for well-being techniques that don't necessarily involve mindfulness, yes. And on that note, we are going to do, well, let's get the mindfulness out of the way, okay? I hope this is okay, Tink, for you, because we're going to do a short exercise just to get really, really grounded, and it just weaves perfectly in to what we're going to do. So I'm going to share my screen. And in this moment, just a very short checking in exercise. You can stay on screen or you can switch off your camera. And it's just a chance to connect with your breath, to notice your breath as you are just now. You don't need to change anything or do anything. It's just noticing with that curiosity that some of you are bringing to this session. And then you can become aware of where your body is in contact with your chair. If you're sitting with the floor, if your feet are on the floor. And then noticing your feet in contact with the floor, your soles, sensation of your soles on the floor beneath you. And imagining that you can root in to the ground beneath you. And this is your invitation just now to imagine that there's an in tray beside you. Maybe there actually is. And you can place anything that might be on your mind or distracting you in some way. You can place that item by item in your in tray. Just place it all in there so that you're creating some spaciousness for you to focus on your well-being, your self-care in a way that's right for you. And now you can do a quick scan of you, your body, and just notice if there is any area of tension or tightness. And you can breathe in to those places now, just one by one, without expecting anything to magically happen. But it's just an invitation for you to relax into this moment. Because we learn at our best when we're present. And we learn at our best when we are in the now, in the moment, relaxed, open, curious. So you can take another deep breath in and out. And just one final one to turbo boost our self-care. Deep breath in and out. And just thanking you for being here and for making time for yourself. And hopefully you have all stayed awake in this movement. Yes, welcome again. So while we're in this lovely, relaxed space, we're going to do an exercise that some of you will recognize from previous modules that you've been on. And for some of you, this will be new. And this is a key aspect of our well-being, whatever that is for you and your self-care, is to begin to hold space for yourself, which is really what we were doing in that exercise just there, noticing with curiosity, becoming more aware of what's going on within us and outside of us. So we're going to do this short exercise in groups of 3-ish, depending on our numbers. And you'll have 3 minutes each, if you're a group of 3. And you decide who's going to go first. Who is going to speak first? And for the speakers, your invitation is just to share, talk about whatever is alive for you just now in the moment. You don't need to plan or take notes. It's just sharing what bubbles up within you and what emerges. And then the other people in your group will listen. So really the floor is yours. And listeners, you are going to purely listen. So you are going to listen to what the other person is saying, and you're going to notice and listen to what is going on within you. So noticing where are the moments where you want to dive in and interject, where do you want to ask questions, where are you feeling triggered or in some way by the conversation. So I hope that's making sense. Any questions on that before we dive into this first exercise of the night? And there will be others, by the way, but hopefully they will be easeful and fun. So, okay, well, if there aren't any questions, then your breakout rooms will hopefully appear shortly. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you.
So, how was that exercise for you? If you want to pop it in the chat or have any noticings of what it was like as the speaker and as the listener in this holding space way. Any insights before we delve in a bit more?
I noticed that everyone who was listening was bobbing their head and, trying to, because normally when you speak, you get a response from someone, who you speak to. But of course, not being able to speak, you try to be positive and, so yes, everyone was bobbing while being on mute. And it helps because you can just put yourself on mute so you can't ask anything. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's one of the small benefits, isn't it, of being on screen, that we can mute people. Works well for family Zoom calls as well. Lovely. Shared similar experiences. Yes, it was nice talking to people from different places. Absolutely. It's lovely connecting to different people. Good to know you're not the only one feeling the way you do. Yes, sharing that. Different educational establishments. Absolutely. We only had 2 in our room, so loads of time to talk. It was fun. Lovely. Oh, yes, Vicky, very hard not to say, I totally get it. You're not the only one. Yeah, not alone. And what was that like for you, not being able to say that? And thank you for sticking to the rules. Karen, just 2 of us, nice to meet. Lovely. Lovely to speak to people across the whole curriculum. Yes. Similar struggles, absolutely. Different experiences shared. Lots of similar feelings about going back next week. Yes, yeah, yes. And having that whole space just for you to allow the ideas and what you want to share just to bubble up and surface. And did anyone want to interject then, listeners, and speak?
I think, and I don't know if anyone else is in agreement, but as teachers, you kind of want to rush in and, you know, support and reassure and provide advice. So it's so hard not to go, it's okay, you're going to be grand, you know, having to step back. But personally, it was really nice. Maybe it is just being holed up in a house with limited people that you're interacting with. It was just nice to go blah and get it all out in one go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and it is. You know, we can be such good fixers and rescuers, and this is the invitation to step back from that and allow the space for you, for the other person to share as well. Thank you for sharing that, because the key principles of this way of holding space is letting go of any outcome. And what I mean by that is any way we feel the conversation should go for yourself and for the other person, and that we let go of our judgments for ourselves, for the other person, because there is no right or wrong way of doing this. And that it is that way of connecting, as some of you shared, how nice it was to connect with people outside of your schools or where you work. And it is that invitation to stay present, to notice what's going on for you and the other person or people that you're talking to, and to trust that this is a really powerful process, and that each one of us has everything that we need to resolve things, to sort things out. And sometimes we just need to, as you were sharing, Vicky, just to let that out, and then things can begin to resolve themselves sometimes. And that we're not fixing. We're not fixing. Because when we're fixing straight away, then we're taking some of that other person's power away. So this is about being in our power and knowing that we can be present with whatever is going on. So these are the key principles, and I'd invite you to continue practicing that. And what many teachers have done after this is to set these interactions up with their colleagues, with family, with friends, set the timer for whatever amount of time, and just have this holding space interaction. It's a lovely way to start up meetings as well, and can really change the dynamic, because we're settling in more. We're getting that stuff out, and we're settling in deeper to the conversation, if that's what you are hoping for. So they are some of the key principles, and can make such a difference to our own well-being and our own self-care as well. I really feel it's one of the great gifts we can gift ourselves. So, has anyone seen this model before, or a version of it? Yep, so some nods there, which is wonderful. So basically what this is about is how we create our reality. So with any external event that there is, we are running this through our filters. We can either delete information, distort information, or generalize information, and I'll come back to those in a moment. And any external event or information that comes through us, it will filter through us through our senses. So this is what I was doing here with the eye, our sight, our smell, our taste, our touch, our hearing as our 5 key main senses. So when we run these through our filters, it creates our map, our unique map of our reality from our perception, our experience, our rules, our beliefs, who we are in this world. And that creates within us this feeling or this state of how we are. And that influences our physiology or our body language, either visible externally or not, which in turn affects our behavior, how we behave in any moment in time, which determines what action we might take or what results we may get. So all this is going on, as many of you will know, on a minute by minute, second by second basis. And why we're bringing this in today is we're going to explore how this may influence our well-being and how we choose to care for ourselves through self-care. Because these filters is what we're going to focus on just now: deleting, distorting, generalizing. When we delete information, it just doesn't even enter into our consciousness, it's gone. So we can do this through our language. We can delete it, where it represents the information that we're talking about. Or we can just choose to hear a particular part of a story or information or parts of the lesson that's shared with us. We're doing this all the time, deleting. I didn't hear it, just didn't happen. Then we can distort information. We can bend information to suit our reality, our version of events. We're doing this all the time, whether we think so or not. Or we generalize. So we group people into certain categories, or we may stereotype. An example could be, all teachers are ... I wouldn't want to answer that. All Irish people are ... We're getting ourselves into sticky situations here. So we're generalizing, grouping people. All children or young adults are, and on it goes. And it's just what we do to make sense of our world. But the more we're aware of the filters that we're running our information through, and the more that influences our map of our reality, then we can choose maybe to react or respond in a different way. So I'll stop share for a moment. Are you all still with me? Any questions on any of that? Did you like my video? Great, yeah. I mean, my drawing isn't, up to much, but it gets the message across. So this is what we need to do. So yes, communication models. So we're going to give you some questions now to explore and perhaps become a bit more aware of what might your filters be. Yeah. And thanks, Margot, for that, for sharing that it makes sense. And it's something that, as I was saying to Pauline earlier, it's like this can be the structure that you can hang things on. Because personally, for me, it all comes back to this communication model of how I function in the world and how others function in the world. So someone shared earlier, you're here, you're curious, because of curiosity has brought you here. And the more open and curious we can be about ourselves, about the situation, then it can minimize conflict. It can create more easeful conversations, and we can understand at a deeper level that we're all coming at this life thing from very different perspectives, no matter how similar we are. So I've got some questions, and we'll do a short exercise in smaller groups. And here are some questions for you to explore. You can take a photo of this or write it down. You can explore some or all of these to get the discussion going. What does this model bring up for you? In what way do you think you are filtering information, deleting, distorting, generalizing? And how might this impact your well-being or your self-care? And where we have a choice to do something or do nothing, in what way could you choose to change your behavior, your map, your results? And it really is, you know, I was going to say enhanced, but I think overdrive is the word that you're using, can really impact how we are in any moment. Rachel, I'm trying to limit my filters but finding it difficult. Yeah. Because so much information is coming at us at any one time, and it is why we do filter the information. You know, our conscious mind and our subconscious mind are so powerful, that all this is happening and being done for us. So the more conscious we can become, and just, we can limit or minimize these things, just even in the moment, taking small steps, it can really, really help and make differences. I'm finding that what I think I delete during the day reappears in my dreams at night. Yes, how interesting that is. Yeah. And maybe it's a chance to write down your dreams. I don't know if you do that. You know, write them down, what you remember, because that can be a helpful ally for us as well. The distort part for me happens at night when I try to sleep. Yeah. Sleep patterns have been shattered. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And bringing in, you know, when you receive the recording for this, the presencing exercise at the start can be a really useful ally for sinking in to sleep. Can really help. Journaling as well, these types of things. What we're going to move on to will hopefully help, and thank you for sharing all of that, because we're going to explore this personal and professional identity and whether there are overlaps for you in the person you are in your personal life and the person you are in your professional life. So Pauline has created this wonderful Padlet. The link is in the chat. So if you click on that, and what will pop up are a number of questions. So I'll read out the questions, and you can click on plus and you can add your response. It's really cool. So the exploration is for you to think about what kind of personal identity is your personal identity. And it's an invitation to think of yourself in metaphoric terms. So where you're like, the example here is like a warm sunset. So who are you? Yeah, that's it. You don't need any encouragement there, you're diving straight in. And then what kind of professional identity is my professional identity? And the example here is like a knight on horseback. Love it. Oh, it's gorgeous what's coming through. Like a library, a reading nook. Funny like a cloud. I'm an adventurer. I'm mothering. I'm the mother, yes. The gentle forest walk. Like a warm, soft blanket. Gorgeous, caring, reassuring, that you can wrap around. Yes. And the same for your professional identity. That's like what? And then thinking about, is there a relationship between you, your personal identity? So for example, you when you are bubbly, and you when you are the oracle, if that's the same person that wrote them. Is there a relationship between the personal you and the professional you? And in what way can you bring more balance? Because this is an invitation to bring in more of who you are as your whole self into your work, into your life, as the authentic person that you are. Because then with that, it brings this greater sense of ease, of well-being. And it's not about, being false or fake or a very different persona. It's about being you in your natural, grounded sense of who you are. Gorgeous. In what way can you rebalance? I'm not too sure how to switch off. Yeah, from a lot of things, not reading emails after certain times. So yeah, what kind of boundaries can we create around that? Switching off, slowing down, rebalancing through letting things go, accepting how things are. Yeah, these are the challenges. And others are sharing the relationship as things can become overwhelming in all areas if one area is stressful. Yeah. And for someone else, it's total opposites. Yeah, how interesting. What kind of total opposites? Personality is evident in both, but sometimes feel that being funny can make people doubt your professional ability. Yes. How interesting is that? That's something I've felt in the past, and I'm becoming more certain how healing humor can be, and how humor can lighten a room when used appropriately. It's been part of my journey, the appropriateness of it. Who decides? Gorgeous. Well, keep your answers coming in there. That's really, really wonderful. And your invitation is to consider where they may overlap and whether you choose to increase that overlap. Or for some, it's like, this is me, my personal self, this is me, my professional sense. Thank you very much. We leave it at that. Okay. So it's something for you to take away as your contemplation. And I'll just briefly share my screen, because this is what you can see is, I don't know if you can see that too, all the answers appearing. Yeah. I really like this. Thank you, Pauline, for creating this. So it's your invitation to continue to explore that, and particularly in metaphoric terms, because the power of a metaphor as the very fabric of you and your consciousness is immense. But we're going to move on with the time that's in it to explore you and your story. So with all that we've explored so far, and thank you for being so willing and open to dive into this, around becoming more present, holding space, around exploring what is well-being to you, uniquely to you and who you are, and who are you when you do communicate in a particular way, and when you become more aware of how you filter information. It's the personal you, the professional you. Because now, as our final exercise for this webinar, it's about how you choose, if you wish, to rewrite your story or aspects of it, to weave in anything or parts of what you have learned tonight. So to inspire you with this, we can do this in the form of continuing on with some of the metaphors, the positive or the outcome-focused metaphors that you've chosen. So what I mean by that is what you want more of in your life. And we can create some affirmations. So you may be most likely familiar with affirmations in a way of creating the reality that we want now. So here's an example here. I can choose to rewrite my story in a way where I am well, I am balanced, and I take care of myself. So that's wonderful and great. Or I can ramp things up and really bring in more of the senses, of the five main senses from our communication model, and some creative, metaphoric, poetic license there. I can choose to rewrite my story and decide that from now on, I am the Scots pine, and I smell divine. I am standing tall like a tree, rooted and grounded within the forest of my life. And I feel the wind rustle through my green needles with fun, with freedom. And when that happens, I'm reminded to be in the now. So can you notice the difference between bringing in the sensory awareness to all of that and how that really grounds in you, in me? So your task is to create your version, because you are unique, your story is unique, with some ingredients for the affirmations. Is that it's personal, because it's about you, so using I. It's in the present tense, because we want to invite this in now, because it's no time to wait anymore. And it's outcome focused. It's focused on what you want more of, positive. And it's not bypassing anything else that's going on. It's just an invitation to imagine, who am I when I am this tree, for example? Who am I when I am this bubbly person? Because where our attention goes, that's where the energy flows, and we invite more of that into our life. So using our main senses, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you tasting? What are you smelling? And our sixth sense, what are you intuiting? Okay. So that's your invitation to do that just now. And you don't have to share. However, we're always open to hearing. So I think we've got time for another short group exercise. Looking over to Pauline, do just a short chinwag gathering, just to share maybe what's bubbling up, some of your affirmations or storytelling, with no pressure at all to create or perform in any way. Resisting rewriting your story, like, no, I am perfect as I am, thank you very much.
I like to, one of the Louise is saying, describing her first, year in teaching after training, it says, maybe it was stressful, but it was not beyond us. I thought that was very good, very encouraging. Next time I find myself in a stressful situation, I'll just say to myself, this is not beyond me.
Yeah, gorgeous words of advice. Yeah.
I said something that was fizzy. You can go for non-alcoholic or alcoholic, but taking the lid off or the cork off, and all the little bubbles, kind of all the kind of stress of the day kind of pop out, and there's a bit of relief, and it goes into the glass, and you can sense it and taste it, and just makes you a little bit more relaxed. And sometimes I think by sharing these sorts of things, you can transfer it from one place to the next, can't you? That was my little story.
Yeah. Lovely. And I love that metaphor as well, the power of that metaphor. And something I invite for all of you, and Louise, you sharing that, is to actually reenact that. If you have the bottle of bubbly, and physicalizing your metaphor to really anchor it in you to become that, because it's what your story, it's what you want to become. So thank you for sharing that. Catherine, you've shared, I think we're all desperate to be out doing our own thing, for changing, not because trained to rules. Yes, yeah. And, you know, this new way and what's happening, I wonder how the rules may change and open up, you know. So we're rewriting our stories, your stories, and perhaps the story of education, you know. What would we want that to be like? I keep thinking of retirement more and more, but I don't want to wish my life away for the next 8 to 10 years. Yeah. And enjoy what I have in the moment. Yeah. Such wise words. Yeah. So what is it? How do you want to be when you are in the moment? It's like what? And creating your story or metaphor around that can be fun, powerful, and can change your reality in an instant or over time. So keep writing your story and rewriting it in your present tense, in what you want more of, in the positive, and acknowledging what that brings up for you in the journey towards being your full self, your full story. Kindness from all when we came out the other end of this journey in life. Yeah, it is inviting so much kindness, isn't it? And cooperation and sharing and authenticity too. Okay, well, we're coming towards the end of our webinar with all that we've explored. And I was just sharing with Pauline when you were in your groups that this is a whistle-stop tour of these topics that we're exploring, and we could spend so much time on each of them going deeper. So it is your invitation to explore these for yourself. We'll send out notes over the next few days so you can read up more and choose to go deeper if you wish. Our objectives and what we covered in our whistle stop tour, reminding you in any moment to gift yourself a gift of presence, staying awake. And if you do fall asleep, that's what you need in that moment, you know, holding space for yourself, remembering the depth and breadth of how we're communicating. And although my way usually is the right way, well, I understand that other people have different ideas, and I'm willing to listen. Exploring well-being, what that means, the overlap on our personal and professional, and reminding you that that self-care is essential care, and how you rewrote your story, thread by thread, weaving it anew again, and that you've got that power.